expand my mind.
This is where her story begins. This is EduCity.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. Welcome everyone to the Jumpstart Your Career Talk by EduCity. I am Mahira and I'll be your moderator for today. Thank you for participating in today's event as we have a special appearance by the Managing Director of EduCity Iskandar, Encik Wan Ahmad Saifuddin. So a little bit about Encik Wan. He has Masters of Architecture from the University of Cambridge, and for the past 27 years, he has been working in 13 different jobs. I know it sounds incredible, but before we go into it, let me take this opportunity first to wish all of you Selamat Hari Merdeka yang ke-64, #Malaysia Prihatin. In the conjunctions of Malaysia Independence Day celebration, we are organizing a series of activities which including EduCity Doodle Contest and EduCity Tell Me Challenge TikTok video competition. So for more details about the contest, please follow our social media platform. We have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and the Merdeka celebration will end on the 16th of September, which is fall under Malaysia Day, with EduCity Merdeka virtual celebration, where we will be announcing the winner of these two contests. All right, so talking about our Jumpstart Your Career Talk, or we call JYC Talk. It consists of several series where we bring the industry experts to give the insight on the future of work and how can the youth segment navigate the new norm of the working industry and land their dream job. So for your information, most of our registered audience tonight are the students and the working youth with less than 2 years experience. And this JYC Talk series will also reveal the necessary skills to perform specific job functions in the industry. So our comment section is always open to any questions from you guys. My team will try their best to pick up your questions to be addressed to our special speaker today, because I know there will be a lot of assumptions, a lot of confusions and questions that were playing in your mind. So just put your question in the comment section. All right, so without further ado, I welcome our speaker today, Encik Wan Ahmad Saifuddin, Wan Ahmad Radzi. Assalamualaikum, Cik Wan.
Salam.
I hope you're doing good.
Yeah.
Well, you look good.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah.
All right, thank you, Cik Wan. We are honored to have you as our first speaker for JYC Talk. Cik Wan, you have always been open to sharing your career journey, and that 13 jobs in 27 years is the record. So maybe you can share some insight on your growing up years and what shapes your attitude towards your choice of careers. Cik Wan, the floor is yours.
So, I mean, firstly, in my defense, I didn't choose to go into 13 jobs within 27 years. I think it was more of a situation that I was in. But I still have 2 more jobs to meet my father's record of 15 jobs during his whole career. So, you know, maybe that's something that should be aspired to. But I hope that, you know, I mean, you can't really prepare for this. It's how do you actually react to the situation or, you know, the current environment that you're in. I don't think there's really any preparation, except one word that I want you to keep in mind is agility. You have to be agile, and there are various ways that you can be agile, you know, as you embark in the world of work. So today, so shall I start? Okay. Okay. So basically, I want to structure today's talk into 3. So you may see, if you see on the top right hand of the screen, you see learn, live, and lead. So this is the principles in which EduCity stands by. And you know, the title for today is Are You Future Ready? And I'd like to break it down into those 3 pillars. So the first, we're going to talk about learn. How do you learn while you're a student, and how do you learn once you've started working? You know, and how what sort of approaches maybe you want to take based on some of my experience. Second is, how do you live? So outside of the learning part, when you're a student, you're in class, you learn. Even outside class, there are many opportunities for learning. But the live part is how do you balance that with the live? You can't just be studying all the time, nonstop. And third is lead. So lead, in the later part of my career, my last 3 out of my last 4 positions was as a head of a company. So how do you prepare yourself to be in that situation so that you gather the necessary skills? And it might not be from sources that you think about. So if I can start with learn, so it depends on the subject. Whatever subject that you study, my first advice is to go wide. So if you're doing accounting, if you're doing law, if you're doing architecture, read around the subject. And you never know where good sources of knowledge can come from. For example, while I was in university, in Form 4, I started listening to Iron Maiden. So this is not the torture device. This is the rock band. So from Iron Maiden, and once you started looking at the lyrics, and a lot of us actually sing along to songs, etc., but we don't really look at the lyrics.
Yeah.
And the lyrics of Iron Maiden, first you have to understand the sort of background history of Iron Maiden. Started by Steve Harris, who was a bassist. He was a history major, and then the lead singer had bachelors in English. So they wrote songs from one of the longest songs ever released on the singles chart is "Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner," which is a long poetry by Samuel L. Coleridge. And I discovered that poetry via an Iron Maiden song. One of my favorite all-time science fiction books, Dune by Frank Herbert, also I discovered via an Iron Maiden song. So you never know where sources of knowledge can come from. Even on the cover of their Life After Death album, all sounds rather, but there's a quote by H.P. Ripley called, "That is not dead which can eternal lie, yet in strange aeons even death may die." So this was taken from a fictional book called the Necromonicon, and you can read so many things about the subjects that you study, and it always helps when you're reading around the subject, and it can take you down different paths. Okay, second, I was fortunate in a way to choose architecture because when I wanted to choose what course to take, it was difficult to decide because I love both arts and science. I love physics, I love maths, and yet I love art. So the only real course out there that sort of takes both into account was architecture. Half of my subjects were arts-based. I was learning philosophy, theory, history. The other was environmental engineering, structural engineering, very technical subjects. So it has a balance of both sides. So if you get the opportunity when you study, yep. Even though you are studying a technical subject or you are studying an arts or social science subject, get to know the other part, get to know the other side, go and visit other people, make friends with people who are learning different things from what you are and mix with them. And this is the informal learning. So when we say learn, it's not only learn in the classroom, but it also means learning outside. Yeah? So second, so that's go wide. So try to read very widely around your particular subject matter. So second is the opposite, go deep. In certain things, because when I was studying architecture, I was like so confused that there's so many things to learn. Imagine for one lecture, I had 7 different topics or 7 different articles I had to read up. But you decide to go deep in a couple of things. So I decided I'm going to be good in computers, in architecture. So I went into computer design, 3D modeling. I pestered the computer teacher so much that he just gave me the key to computer lab. You go anytime you want to sleep there, it's up to you. Even when he wanted to install software, he just gave to me, can you help me install? So I basically live in the computer lab. And that was a privilege because at that time, I don't know how many of you know the software Macromind, rather Macromedia Director. It was one of the big interactive software last time, and I was using 1.0. They just released it, so I was doing really funky things with the videos until my external examiner actually called me up during the final session and said, "Do you do all this yourself?" And I said, "Yeah, I just learned it. It was all very new, but it's really about taking initiative, lah. So what you wanna, apart from going wide and knowing as many things as possible, is go deep and know some things very, very well. So from an architectural perspective, also, I said, okay, there's so many approaches to architecture. So I said, how I went deep on one, which is phenomenology. This is an approach based on Martin Heidegger's philosophy, expanded by this guy called Christian Norbert Schultz, which talks about if you wanted to design a building, you must first understand the context. Does it have hills? Does it have water? Which way does the wind blow? And then how do you design to accommodate the weather and things like that? So that is a particular philosophical approach that can be turned into something practical. The other thing is, when you went overseas, I had my A-levels in Northern Ireland and my degree in Cambridge and my postgraduate in Edinburgh. But you learn all about Western architecture, so you started looking for your own identity. So I started doing my own research on Islamic architecture. So you start connecting things to yourself. The cultural identity of a student, especially when you're very displaced from your geographical origin, you get very curious. Like, what about where I come from? How does things work? So that's the go deep part. So those are two approach when you learn. You go wide on certain things so that you know a lot of things, and this actually leads to agility. And then you go deep on certain things that that you are passionate about. For example, if somebody asks me about Blade Runner, the movie, which is based on Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, then I can talk on and on and on about this movie and how the original movie is how it compares to Blade Runner 2049 with Ryan Gosling. So I can talk about for hours. And that's sort of a mental exercise. I think my family always do this. After we watch a movie at the theater, we will critically analyze that movie and say, what was the message? What did that guy do? What were they trying to say? So this is skill sets of you using everyday things, a movie, a song, and taking that into using a thinking exercise to actually do it. So that's how. I mean, you may end up a little crazy like me, but you will be agile if you do that. So those are two things under the learn pillar. Then if we move to the live pillar, as a student, one of my biggest advice is choose your friends carefully. And it's same once you graduate, same thing, choose your friends carefully. Always choose people you hang around with that have what I call plurality of thinking. So they think in different ways, they think from different perspectives. So if you are exposed to different sorts of thinking, then you can, you develop your own thinking in a much more holistic way. Because if you hang around only people who think like you, then you'll be very narrowly developing down that path. You won't know how to argue from different perspectives. You won't know how to use different sources of information. So I was always one of the uncool kids, whether in when studying and all. So I tend to hang around the nerds, but there's many kinds of nerds. So never put down nerds, because nerds rule the world. Really, look at Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, etc. So go choose your friends carefully, and what you are going for is diversity of thinking. Sometimes all it takes is go out, have teh tarik with these guys and ask, hey, what do you guys think about this? Suddenly you'll be exposed to different ways of thinking that, then it stretches your own thinking and your own imagination. So one example in architecture, there's a crit session. A crit session means that you've done your design, and then you display on the wall, and then all the lecturers will come and criticize it. So that's where the word crit comes in. And I guarantee you, the first session, laki ke perempuan, sure nangis. You get devastated. You say, oh my God, I'm such a failure. I want to sleep for a week, But then you get out of it, and then you get used to getting criticism. But the best way of learning is not just to listen to the lecturer's crit of your own project, is to go when other people's projects are being presented and listen to the critique of their projects. That's how you exponentially learn, rather than just, again, you keep to one way of thinking, or one view, or one design. So by going to other people's script, you are exposed to many designs and many different sort of criticism and many different sort of advice that comes from the lecturers. So another way to exercise your mind, in Cambridge University at that time, there was no internet. The net did not exist. This was 1988 to 1991. We had a system called Phoenix. So this Phoenix system is like a precursor into the internet. So we could all like chat together, etc., within the university, and you could actually send email, and we're like, oh, so surprised, I can send email to another university, and they actually responded. That was about 1990 lah. So another way to stretch your thinking is take whimsical stuff lah. Macam we had a physicist, we had accountant, economics or rather, we had legal, we had architecture, all these people, and then we take a very boring subject like how do cows stand in a field? Okay, how do cows stand in a field? So we call it the habitual distribution of cows in a field. And we all criticize it from an architectural perspective, from a social scientist perspective, from a physics perspective, from a mathematics perspective. So you take something very light, and then you are using all your theories and you're applying. The main thing is you apply your knowledge in context that is not normal to how you apply your knowledge. That's another stretching of the imagination. So, but be warned, you can turn a bit crazy like me lah. So that's live part. So live as a student, but live when you work, same thing. Vary your circles of friends. One good way is always keep in touch with your uni mates, always keep in touch with your schoolmates. They all tend to go their own paths, but keep in touch and then discuss and converse and argue and debate. But one piece of advice: you don't need to put everything on social media. You just do it for the sake of stretching your mind, and you will find that you get much more mature in terms of thinking. You may ask, what does this have to do with future-proofing yourself? And all these things actually add to the fact that you become more agile, you become more flexible when you are being put in many different sort of situations. Then you can quickly adapt because you have different points of views, you have different schools of thought that you have been exposed to. The second thing is, when you first start working, don't be shy to learn from people more experienced than yourself. The problem with a lot of us, we don't know how to ask. We don't know how to, macam malu lah nak tanya, nanti orang ingat kita tak tahu kan. But you never learn if you don't ask questions. So always ask questions and really focus on what the answers are. So one example, when I first started working as an architect in 1994, I sat down, started doing design, and it was great. It was a small company. Everybody, bosses, draftsmen, secretary, everybody sat beside each other. There was no rooms at all, just an open space. And the draftsman would come to my table and pandang my drawing. Itu tak betul tu. Because he's experienced, he can say, okay, your column size is not right. Are you sure nak buat flat roof dekat Malaysia ni? Kat Malaysia ni kalau buat flat roof, sure dia bocor punya. Because it doesn't work. Here we need pitch roof. Why? Because it's gonna push the rain away from the house and keep leaking at a minimum. So you have to rendahkan diri. These are draftsmen in a way that they report to me. I was the architect yang supposed to be the super designer and all. all this, but you must have humility. So agility, number one, is one of the skills that you need to develop. Second is humility in order that you can learn. You have to be humble in order to learn. Okay, so that's one example. And then third is become a knowledge vacuum. Read as much as you can. And this one I cannot underemphasize. You know, you want to be knowledgeable, you want to be agile, you have to read a lot. You know, and books, whether it's electronic, whether it's articles, but don't stop reading. If you look at the more developed economies, you go in, for example, in the tube in the UK, or you go in the train in Japan, everybody's reading. Everybody's reading, just about everybody. But in Japan, it's so quiet lah. If you tergelak kuat sikit, everyone pandang at you lah. You know, so different cultural sort of settings have different ways that you react. But read, and then you take what you read to use it as knowledge that you discuss, you create opinions, you go for talks, you go for forums, you go watch plays and theaters, and use that knowledge. Knowledge trapped in the mind is an undeveloped knowledge. It just doesn't mature. So you got to let it breathe. You got to let it. You got to test it out lah. And in the other part of work, in the live part, is the other advice is you will probably go through several jobs. Some people I know have been in jobs for 15, 20 years, but you will have different roles, even within the same company. So movement is a given, whether you move internally or you move to a different place. So the best advice when you have, when you undergo movement is do not burn your bridges. Don't leave angrily and say, I'm never going to speak to you guys again, keep good relations, because 10 out of my 13 jobs, I was actually invited into the job. And these are because people who I work with or who I work for, or who even reported to me, then offered me jobs in the future. So never burn your bridges. Always keep a good relationship with any employer, that you work with. And always, it never hurts to be nice. Being nasty is just not a great thing that people won't want to work with you lah. So from a learn perspective, and then that's from a live perspective. How about lead? In school, in university, my advice is start something. Start whatever. You start a club, you start a society, you start something lah. So when I was in, first time, I was in St. John's in Kuala Lumpur. I was like average kid, I was a prefect a little bit, but I never did anything really exciting. But once I went to Northern Ireland, I found the need to, I have to prove myself also, and the trust, of being sent so far away to study. So I started become president of photography club. And that time photography means developing your own negatives in chemicals. Okay, so you had to be in a dark room. Unfortunately, some of my photography club members only showered once in 2 weeks. So in a dark room with somebody who haven't showered in 2 weeks is a huge challenge. So you actually enjoy the chemical smells and not smelling your friends. So I started a club. There was a shooting range that was unused. So I said, okay, let's start a table tennis club. So I started training. I used to play table tennis in ping pong in school. So we started, then we started having competitions, etc. So start something. If sometimes you say, club society macam tak best je, tak ada choice. So kalau tak best, tak ada choice, you start something lah, kan? Why do you initiate something? So when I was in Cambridge, I met this engineer, Simon Billows, who was in my same college. He said, hey, jom lah main Dungeons and Dragons, although he didn't speak Malay lah, so he's English. So he pestered me, and then we said, what's our common principle? We both love comics. So he said, okay, let's start a comics society, comics club. So we started one, and we started calling famous writers, Alan Moore, who did Watchmen, and V for Vendetta, actually came and spoke to a small group of about less than 10 people. and we had all those experiences which, if we didn't start that club, we never would have had. So from a lead perspective, use the opportunities to lead something, and you will be better for it. I can guarantee you. And from a work perspective, so that's from a school or uni perspective. So work perspective, one thing, we are in an age of consumerism. Kita ni suka consume. Social media, consume. But we should become producers. Not that I'm asking all of you to open TikTok accounts and start dancing tomorrow, but become producers in many ways. And TikTok is one form of expression. Start your own business. I started working in 94. I started my first own company in 96 while I was working. It was a small web design firm, which I started learning web design on my own out of interest. And and then it developed into something that a university actually called me to teach web design after that, because I actually had the knowledge which almost nobody around had. So start your own business. I started my own .com company in 1997. We got investment from New Zealand for 30% of the company in 2000, and then the market crashed in 2001. So macam-macam lah. I mean, you learn so much. And because I had that experience, the corporate sector then called me. And from 2001, I've been in corporate sector in one company or another. So again, in my defense, although 30 jobs in 27 years, most of it is spent in four companies, which is about 5 years each. About 20 of those 27 was actually just 4 companies. Everything else was in between and dependent. Even to today, I have a website that does comics. I have together with my family a website called hadiah.gifts, which sells gifts. So it's nice to do your own business. Once you're an entrepreneur, you always want to be one. It's nice to deal with people, to do retail especially. And the other thing about moving from consumer to producer is produce something like start your own blog. Especially writing. Writing is, I started my first blog also in 1996. I started another one in 2007. And now hopefully I have in my mind, I want to plan to do a book, to write a book about my experience in educational transformation, and just do it. Just do and produce. So that's my advice. And the last, if I can close, is you lead yourself. The lead part is what is the meaning in the work that you do? Okay, there is a famous professor called Clayton Christensen who wrote The Innovator's Dilemma. If I'm not mistaken, he's passed away because he had cancer. But he was the latest management guru, after Peter Drucker, etc. So Clayton Christensen was considered the guru of innovation or disruptive innovation. After he was so famous with disruptive innovation, he actually wrote a book called, what was it called? Let me try to find it. How will you measure your, how to measure your life?
Okay.
How to measure your life, So one of the core things of this book is his classmate in Harvard was Jeff Skilling, who was the CEO of Enron. So if you know about Enron, it's a huge company, grows so huge, but then because of greed, it crashed. It brought down Arthur Andersen as a company. They had to shut down. It caused a huge, it was a really big thing in the business world. And his classmate said, how could this guy with such good knowledge, and he was a good guy, go so wrong? So that points toward what we call your true north, the thing that keeps you from doing wrong things has got to be there, whether it's to a lot of people it's religion, it's spirituality, it's faith, thinking about the betterment of mankind. And in that book he was talking about some of his regrets and things that you want to, when you end your life, you want to start thinking that you did a lot of good. And don't wait to start doing a lot of good. Do good today, do good yesterday, and keep doing good. tomorrow. So that's basically it. That's my sharing of learn, live, and lead. But my main message in the end, you may get to different positions of leadership, etc. But the trait that people look for now is humility. Because if you're humble, you are willing to learn. And when I go into organizations, I look at the leader. Does the leader have that quality of humility? Because if they do, that means they will listen to you. And they will not just say, I know better lah. They will listen. And if a leader who listens is a leader you can follow, and a leader who will help you grow. So that's some of the tips if I can. So lastly, I just like to end that, EduCity is running a PPV at the moment. We have a lot of people on the front lines. 2 of our staff has, got COVID positive, Muhaimin and Ashraf. So please pray for them. Hopefully they'll get better soon. We're doing this also for the community. The PPV vaccination center is currently focused on the manufacturing industry, but we're trying to do, EduCity tries to do its bit for that. So, hope we pray for them and we wish them the best. And that's how I'll end. And I'm open for questions.
All right. Thank you, Cik Wan, for the insightful sharing. We pray the best for Muhaimin and Ashraf. Okay, I think from what you shared, the most important thing that I can capture, there's a lot of valuable advices, but the most I think I could highlight here is the being agility, and you never learn if you don't ask question. I interested with the term knowledge vacuum, to occupy yourself with knowledge, because I think that's the important thing in student university life as well as in the working environment. And do start something, because you never know your capability, your ability if you don't start. Right. Okay, Cik Wan, on behalf of the youth out there, we have a question to you, which I believe this one is the major concerns for the youth who are now working, but with the current pandemic situation, they might be worried about retaining their position because maybe low numbers of experience they had. So what can they do actually to ensure that they can contribute or add more values in the company, to the companies?
Okay, I mean, first thing in advice for people who are working is work bloody hard lah. I mean, there's no replacement for hard work. When I first started working, my first 2 weeks of work, I only went home to shower at 8:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. I'm back in the office. I sleep in the office because I had a project that usually took 2 months for submission, but I had to do it in 2 weeks. So my boss said, "Here, you handle it." And I said, "Oh, okay lah." What choice do I have? But working hard never hurts. And especially if you work hard at the beginning of your career, you find it easy to work hard the rest of it. If you start with, I want my alone time, I want this one, I need a break for everything, susah lah. So the employers love to see people who try their best. So in whatever you do your best and be satisfied that and be confident that you have done your best, and it will show by itself. But the second thing that I also advise sometimes, and this is maybe slightly controversial, is yes, it's important to do good work, but you must also be seen to do good work. Okay. Because if people don't know you, if people, because when it comes to promotions, etc., the top management will see, who are you recommending? Who's this person? I never seen him also. Yeah. So how do you become visible is do not be shy to interact with the senior management of the company. Take opportunities. There's always networking session. There's dinner makan. Sekarang susah lah. Tapi like today in IIB, we had our Merdeka get together. Come speak. And you find, you'll be surprised. A lot of the senior management are very approachable people. And you can talk to them. Maybe you tahu dia Liverpool supporter, cakap, hey, how are Liverpool doing this year? Spurs is now at the top. Arsenal supporter, sorry lah, bottom lah. So I mean, you find a common ground that you can talk to them with. So you need to be a little bit visible, not to action and show off it. You let your work do that. You let your quality of your stuff do that. But you need to be visible at the same time without being terlalu over lah kan. So being visible is important, but mainly it comes to hard work. Do your work, do it on time, do it with high quality. Ask questions when you're doing, ask questions early when you're doing, so that you can get the right direction rather than wait for so long and suddenly at the end only you ask question, then you say, this is not what I want. So not so great lah kan.
Yeah.
So that's my advice. If you're in your job, I mean, nothing's guaranteed lah. I have a 2-3 year contract, at most with companies, and then they decide whether they want to continue. I also need to decide whether I want to continue. Treat a work. It's just that doesn't matter where you are. Give your best.
Yeah.
Always give your best in the work that you are doing, and then it will show itself. It will definitely show itself.
Maybe J1, the youth working youth that currently maybe have less than 2 years experience, they actually malu untuk bertanya, especially to approach the senior management. So maybe that one, the working youth have to be like being more approachable to the senior management, I think.
I mean, I use myself as an example. If I go on Myers-Briggs test or whatever personality test, I'm an extreme introvert, okay? So, but in the job, you do what you have to. So, and you get used to it. You don't just say, I'm just like this, I'm going to be like this all my life. Take it or leave it kind of thing. That's susah lah. I mean, not many companies can then make as full use as they can of you. So you have to play a certain role in the job that you have. If you are an introvert, certain things it requires you to be extroverted. So do it. Be comfortable. And one advice that I always give to my management team is an important trait, especially as you go up, is you must be comfortable with the uncomfortable. You must be comfortable in uncomfortable situation. Like last 5 jobs has been about corporate transformation. I've been, looking at how to turn around a company. I in a way thrive in adversity. When the company has problem, they call me, and because I have a track record of solving problems. So if you become a problem solver, then people will call you to help them solve their problems. So be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Learn from others how to do it well. Always consult your elders and people who are very experienced. And just do it. And you find if you go down that path, you may actually be very good at it. The thing about doing transformation is quite tough because there's a lot of unpopular things you have to do. But if it's done for the betterment of the company and everybody's treated well, why not? Because you're creating a better environment and a longer future for the company. So yeah,
Interesting. Okay, so the next question would be, it's actually relates to me, because based on my experience when I graduated, I asked myself whether I should apply. We were searching for jobs, right? Well, after the graduation day and so forth. So I asked myself whether I should apply to big organization or company, or I should go for smaller companies, because I believe both has pros and cons. So I'm sure the audience would love to know your thoughts on this and how to make that the decision.
So for me, an offer on the table is better than no offers lah. Sometimes you don't have a choice. Like one offer, am I going to wait for another one? No, I mean start working. Work experience is much better than no experience. But if you do happen to have the choice between big and small, I think there's a lot of factors you have to take into consideration. Like, what is that company doing? Do you believe in the direction that they are? Do you feel that it's something that you can believe in and contribute well? But my journey was, I started in a small company. The advantage of being in a small company is you do everything and you learn very quickly. But it still depends. You may be in a small department in a big company and you have to do a lot of things as well. But you need to choose the quality of the work itself. You have to actually determine the job sometimes, which is not necessarily whether the company is big or small. How do you scope the job? Do you think this manager is somebody you can believe in and you can trust to ask questions and to develop you as well? So I think there's no one answer. I felt I was fortunate to work in a small company. I did apply to big architectural firms. Masa tu macam action sikit lah, because this huge firm made me wait 1.5 hours to meet them. I said, tak payahlah, I don't want to work in a company that doesn't even, I've already made an appointment, didn't come. But in the end, I felt I made the right decision with a small company because I learned from the 3 partners very different things. I worked in projects under 3 different partners. And one was an extrovert, one was good technical guy, one was a very quiet, hardworking guy. And I learned from each of them different traits. So you take the good lah. You take the good from each of your bosses and develop yourself that way.
All right, okay. Thank you, Cik Wan. I reserve my other questions because I actually want to give space or opportunity. We actually have the representative from EduCity Student Senate, or we call ESS, who would like to ask you questions regarding maybe on the leadership qualities that one should have when they are in the working environment, or maybe some tips before they go into the working environment. So I would like to welcome Chloe from the Newcastle University Medicine, Malaysia, and Nicole from Management Development Institute of Singapore, MDIS. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Chloe.
Hi.
Hi. Okay.
Hi.
You may ask your questions to Cik Wan.
Okay. Hi, Cik Wan. You gave a very inspiring talk today.
Thank you.
I was thoroughly engaged. I wondered, throughout your years and years of work experiences, who or what is your greatest inspiration for your style of work ethics?
Okay, I mean, out of the 30 jobs, like I said, 4 jobs I spent approximately 5 years each. And I felt the job that helped me grow the most when I was in Khazanah National. At that time, it was a new Khazanah, because Khazanah National used to be a very small investment arm of the company, but of the country, of the government. But then they just re-strategize what Khazanah was to become. It really started in 2004. 2005 they started hiring. I joined in 2006, and that was I must say that one of the most influential people in my working life was Tan Sri Azman Mokhtar, who was the head of Khazanah National at the time, and he, all the traits that I talked about before, humility. For such a brilliant mind. I mean, I haven't met somebody whose intellect and ways of thinking was, out of this world. I mean, I was blown away. Yet at the same time, he's very personable. He's, I was a lowly VP at that time, which is like 5-6 levels below him. And then, I went to his house for Hari Raya with my family, and the attention he gave to me, which is this lowly new person coming into the company, when he focused on you, he 100% give focus to you. He doesn't get distracted by other stuff. So that really made me feel treasured. He had a great, in the company, even though it was so busy, we always, work late, but there's a lot of emphasis on family. So that when there's family day, the whole family is invited. We go off somewhere to the beach and stuff like that. So a lot of caring about the family side of things as well. So that was inspirational. That was, and I've never been around so many smart people in my life. And that, when I said surround people, choose your friends carefully in Khazanah. It was awesome. It was, again, I was like in my first company, Damansara Architect, where there were no real rooms. Everybody just sat on tables beside each other. To my left was a physicist from Cambridge doing corporate governance. To my right was an engineer, Black Belt, Six Sigma, Motorola engineer. looking at operational efficiency, and I got all these sort of awesome people around, and I really took time to learn from them. And then that was the time I had my janggut already, so they thought this Pak Haji, who's this Pak Haji guy lah, you know. So it's great when people underestimate you. Then they will reveal so much more. They think they are you know. It was the camaraderie that was amazing. I really enjoyed my time with Khazanah, and now I've come back into a Khazanah company. You know, Khazanah is the main shareholder of Iskandar Investment. And I met Tan Sri Azman Bota again when he was the chairman of Iskandar Investment. When he came down, you know, it was great to reconnect with him. And one advice to you guys: there was an interview recently done by Kusu Chuang of BFM with him. It's on YouTube. It's called The Adventure Capitalist. Watch that video. It's really good video that talks about our current situation, the financial system, you know, and a lot of things which is, you know, is trolling from his rich experience in life that he has gone through. And in fact, I'm using that video to discuss as a point of discussion with my management team as well. But do search for it on YouTube.
All right, thank you, Chloe. So maybe Nicole, you have questions?
Yes.
All right.
In your opinion, as the managing director, what are the most important leadership traits to look for when hiring a new employee?
Okay, leadership traits are very difficult to discern when you do an interview. I think even a lot of HR departments are doing a lot of different ways, because I mean, an interview only shows you a small bit lah, kan? So normally they will do some psychometric tests. They will ask you, okay, put you in a situation, you know, how will you react to the situation, etc. But the first trait I would look for is attitude. You have a positive attitude to things. Many great management gurus say hire on attitude, skills you can teach, which is true. You know, if you get a skilled person with the wrong attitude, they're going to become a problem. If you have a person with the right attitude and the willingness to learn, therefore learn, live, and lead, the learn part is important. Look at their thinking. Are they, you know, are they widely read? Are they, you know, flexible? Are they agile? So I always look for those sort of things. And the best way to do interviews to me is then throw them into a real life situation, see how they react, you know. And then, but you really get to know the person once they started working. That's why there's a probation period, you know. So in interviews, maybe if I can give interview tips also, because I've been an interviewer for Khazanah scholarships last time, and I've been in 13 companies, so I interview lots of people. First is please be on time. Number two is please read about the company and know what they do. A lot of people fail in this. Oh, you know, oh, is it this company doing this? You're not even interested enough to find out about the company, yet you're asking for a job from the company. You know. Third is, you know, be very professional. Don't be too familiar. You know, even though they may act familiar, because sometimes they just want to test you. So be very professional and objective. Give your answers, etc. But you know, it's not just them judging you, you are also judging them, because you need to evaluate whether is this the right place to work for me or not, you know. So it's a two-way thing. But yeah, I mean, those are what I look for, you know. First is attitude, positive attitude, because a person with positive attitude you bring into your team is gonna, you know, positiveness is spreads very easily. Same thing with negativity, it spreads very easily. So you don't want negative people. You know, you want people who, you know, a certain type of jobs like risk management, or you need to be risk averse and you got to watch for details. Yes, but you don't have to be negative about it. So you know, those are the kind of things I would look for. Hope that answers.
Answer, Nicole? All right, I think, do you guys have any other questions to Encik Wan? Or maybe I think that's it. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you, Nicole, the representative from ESS. Now, Encik Wan, we have quite a lot of questions in the Q&A box here.
So we can go all the way till 1 a.m., right? So no problem.
Okay, so I try to pick up as much as we can lah. All right.
Sure.
All right. So the question from Husna, we can see now many companies are offering the management training program or the Protege program. So from your observation point of view on the program, so how can that program helps the trainee to be able to excel during their training period and to unleash their potential?
Well, I think the management training program, most of the time, the programs I know in IIB, in Equinas, in many other companies, they do a rotation, right? So you go to one department or you go to one company and then they rotate you around. So that's good. To me, that's very good. If you look at how Petronas develops their leaders, they always rotate the leaders into gas, into shipping, into logistics, into cari gali and all that, and they always rotate so that they know most of the business. So by the time they go higher, they understand the business. Kan? So I think management, training programs are great. Maximize what you can in the ones that you participate lah. Because it's always about you showing initiative as well. And what do you bring to the table? Can you contribute ideas? Can you do design? Can you do project management and things like that? So try to shine given whatever the situation or whatever projects you are given. And I think it's good. I've seen a lot of positive results from it. I mean, you yourself are a product of management training program in IIB. So I think it's good because the adage never changes. Do the best in your particular situation, in your particular job, your particular project, and people will see that. If you've done your best, people will see that.
I agree with you, Cik Wai, because I would say that management training programs actually giving more exposures, many exposure from different perspective, right? All right. Okay. Next question, Cik Wan, from Nur Amira Hidayah. She's asking, in your opinion, what habits or skills that are important to living a successful life? As Encik Wan mentioned just now, that we are the one who determine or lead our life. So could you elaborate more on this?
What sort of skills and, sorry, what was the question again?
What habits or skills that are most important in living a successful life? Because we have to lead our life. We determine our life.
Yeah.
The good habits or habits I will highlight here instead of skills.
Maybe this one I can borrow from Steve Jobs lah. He said, always be curious.
Be curious.
Don't lose your sense of curiosity, because then curiosity, although it kills the cat, it doesn't kill the humans. Explore with as many things as you can. Be curious, find out more, go deep. The same thing that I said before, go deep and go wide. But you decide what you go deep and what you go wide in. And that is really depending on your situation. Number two is, always have a positive attitude, because positivity is infectious. Negativity is also infectious. So be the positive change that you want to see, lead that yourself. And the third that I always emphasize is humility. So if you have, you have that curiosity, which leads you to become a knowledge vacuum, that you will, try to learn as much as possible. Be positive, do your work well, work really hard. No matter which company, which profession, which industry you're in. I've been in 5 different industries already. It all applies. These things are common. Common things. So and if you berani, once you are comfortable with yourself, then get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah, I love that words. Be comfortable with the uncomfortable. All right. Okay, Cik Wan. All right, next one. Halia Khairia. She's asking on either experience or education, which is the most important, because I think this is maybe due to the experience that the job seekers experiencing, where most of the employer are prefer those to hire those with experience rather than education. So maybe you can give your opinion, either experience or education is most important.
Again, I don't think it's either or, it's both. Like I said, while you are in education, while you are studying, do things, not just focus on studies only, like I said, open your own clubs, or lead other clubs, work with this, there's a lot of volunteer work that you can participate in. Be a holistic person lah. Even as a student, don't just be a bookworm, but you develop the whole self, empathy. So and what a lot of people are doing now is they're even starting their own companies while they're students, because it's really, really good experience for you to go through thinking about how do I balance stock and costs, and how do I price, how do I price what I sell, what's my margin, how much capital do I require, things like that. You can learn from books, but it's nothing like actually doing it yourself. So that already adds to your experience. If you've done things like that, then when you talk to, you can even talk a bit of business lingo lah. You can talk about financials. Or one skill set that students, while you are studying, that I think is really, really precious, is please learn finance. Because financial skills of at least reading income statements, balance sheet, and cash flow, anywhere you go is going to be important, because you're probably going to be in position where you have to manage budgets. How do you think about capex versus opex? How do you stretch your budget? How do you maximize what you have? So two things lah. One is study finance. The other one, which is really useful in any job you do, is project management skills. So if you have the opportunity, take extra classes or whatever. Now it's so easy to learn on your own. There's micro credentials. You can go to websites that will teach you all sorts of things and get certification for it. Project management is basically teaching you to be a manager. How do I manage resources? How do I manage people? How do I manage timeline? How do I manage the whole thing to deliver within a certain period of time? Because project management, anything you do in working life can be a project. You can approach it as a project, and it's about disciplining yourself as well. And the hardest thing to learn and do is actually to manage people.
Yeah.
In project management, you have no choice. You have to manage people, because the deliverable is not just on you. If it's just on you, it's a lot easier. I mean, you all will remember horror stories of doing group work, right? Especially some people don't want to help at all. Sometimes you have to pull the whole team. You do most of the work, but it creates that experience for you internally. It's really about, can I actually convince yang tak nak buat kerja tu, come on lah, jom lah, let's do this together, and get them on board. Those sort of skills are actually very important once you go into the workplace, because it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You're going to have people who don't want to do anything. You have people who turnover want to do everything, but what you have to manage is the outcome. So how do you manage a team? How do you manage the outcome? So project management, finance, business in general as well are really good things for you to learn. Yeah.
Project management skills are actually difficult.
Yeah. It's not easy. I mean, if it's easy, then everybody can do it lah. Then your value is if you become good in it lah.
Yeah, interesting, Cik Wan. All right, Cik Wan. You said earlier that knowledge needs to be tested out, but there are some knowledge that cannot be tested. So how would we know that whether the particular knowledge was worth for us to learn, since it sometimes cannot be tested?
Give me an example where it cannot be tested.
Maybe, yeah.
You can. Any knowledge is applicable.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any knowledge that's not applicable. unless you talk about what satanic rituals or whatever lah, you know. But I mean, knowledge in general, you can put in different situations and apply it in different ways. The main thing is you know, there's this phrase called learning by doing. You know, that's the best way of learning, is actually do, not just learn theory and keep it stored in your mind. And suddenly when somebody asks you, alamak, you know, because you didn't do, because do actually builds your muscle memory and builds your actual memory into how to react in a situation and what do you do next and things like that. So do, you know, turn knowledge into action, you know, but good knowledge lah into good action lah, you know. Do not do things illegal, you know, you're not allowed to do illegal things.
Yeah, somebody wrote in the chat box, algebra is maybe not everybody.
Okay. Okay, as an educationist, there's no knowledge that's not useful. You know, you may not be applying it directly in your work, but what you're actually learning is learning how to learn, not the knowledge in itself. Because when you learn many things, you're learning, how do I understand this? How do I think of it in a different way, etc. So the skill set that you pick up is sometimes not how to do algebra or trigonometry or calculus or, you know, advanced metaphysics or whatever. So, but you're learning how to learn. And then if you apply that learning into situations, then it is actually useful. The second thing is, I mean, in our age of technology, things move so fast, you know. You know, I was using a dial-up modem to connect to internet when I started working. Yang ada bunyi signal, lepas tu alamak, cut off, okay, dial again, you know. So things are going to move rapidly. So you need to keep that cycle of learning consistent and constant. You have to keep updating yourself. You know, one of my habits last time, because I wanted to be good in computers and technology, when they had the browser, you know, I lived in an age there was no such thing as the browser. There was no such thing as the internet, you know. It's like no cell phone, no Facebook. So the first thing when the browser came out, Mosaic 1.0, so the first thing is, what do you set as your homepage when you open the browser? So I set a technology news website as my homepage. So every day when I open my browser, 5-6 technology news. You know, within the same day, the technology news will change. And then I keep clicking, learning, oh, this is about this is about that. You have to be curious. You have to be that knowledge vacuum, you know, and absorb lah. And sometimes we may not be able to recall everything, but when it's stuck in your mind, one way or another, you may be using it without realizing it. But because you've already read it, you've already, you know, especially when you try to apply. Once application, to me, is always about doing, which is why I like about architecture. Architecture is not a passive job. You know, you design. Imagine, it's one of the toughest jobs in the world. You are designing, you are supposed to make physical something that is in somebody else's mind and in your mind. You know, if you're a sculptor, whatever, you cakap lah, my mood, I nak sculpt macam ni, I nak paint macam ni. But architects are actually you know, constructing things that is being built, which will be experienced by people. If you design things wrong, orang yumpah kat you lah, apa benda ni, doesn't make sense. Nak masuk pintu pun susah, kecil sangat. You know, so you're actually building lived in art pieces. You know, it's a practical art piece. There is artistic value in your design, but it's also a very practical value. So things that help you learn by doing is precious. You know, grab that, do as much of it as you can, and once you do that cycle. So no knowledge is bad or nonsensical knowledge, because you know, but you got to use it. The main thing is you discuss it, and you know, it makes your brain work in a different way lah. You know, mathematics. I mean, I used to have Mr. Lee, my tuition teacher, mathematics. He's Lee Chin Choi. He's probably tersedak tengah minum teh sekarang ni. And my best friend Praveen Pathmanaban, we were together, and we had to do maths in our mind. You know, my tuition is okay, no paper, dy dx apa benda semua. Hey, what's the answer? I mean, bloody hell, you know, it's really tough, but it makes you think conceptually. You work everything out in the mind. Okay, this answer. Okay, how do you get it? Then you have to explain. You know, so it's gila, but it really helped me visualize, strategize. You know, and even today, No, I had when I was in Unita, my CFO was an ICAEW guy, ex-partner of a consulting firm. And he had to use calculator. Kalau nak kira, I can, okay, in 10 seconds, this is the answer. And then he said, itulah. So, I mean, hopeless lah. Accountants all hopeless. Anyway.
All right, okay, interesting, Joanne. Okay, I think last question from the Q&A box. What do you think of someone working in a completely opposite from what they studies? Is it fair enough in your opinion? Because maybe if you don't have patience, it might affect your motivation to work. So what do you think, Joanne?
So if you listen to my TEDx talk, you will discover that I said, if you are given an opportunity to work in something that you don't know, and this is advice given by, I so forgot lah, Jeff Bezos or one of those people lah. He said, Richard Branson, Virgin Atlantic. He said, grab it, because he says, that person wouldn't have asked you to do it unless he or she saw that you could do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I ask you to do build a rocket to space tomorrow, I will only ask you if I think you can do it. So if you are being asked to do something that's not your field, to me, grab it. And for me, one of the principles I shared during that TEDx talk as well is that it takes you 2 weeks to become an expert in anything. And what I mean is, in 2 weeks, you talk to people, you read up furiously, you look at how it was done before, you can get a good grasp on things in 2 weeks. And because I've been in 5 different industries, 13 different jobs, all sorts of different fields, and all I did is, really look it up lah. Really study it, read the books, talk to people. Very important is talk to people about it. Talk to experts, talk to different experts. And then within a short time, you find, actually not bad lah, this thing. Bukan susah sangat actually. So my advice, if you are given the opportunity of doing things that you're not, because you won't be given an opportunity if they don't think that you can do it. Unless they are putting you up for failure, which you will know lah kan. If they're just putting you up for failure, say, it's okay lah, do something else. But in 99% of the time, grab it and do it well. And then everyone terkejut beruk lah, lepas tu bagus lah.
It requires courage to grab.
It requires courage. Nothing does not require courage. Staying still requires courage. Moving fast requires courage. So in the words of Nike, just do it.
Alright, okay, interesting, Cik Wan. Alright, thank you, Cik Wan. Basically, masa mencemburui kita, we have.
So you basically don't want to listen to me anymore lah, basically. Yeah, I get it.
Maybe we will have another session, maybe into how the interview tips, maybe. Okay, team. Cik Wan wanted another session.
No, I didn't say that. I said you don't want me anymore. So it's quite late lah. It's 9:39 already.
So thank you so much, Cik Wan. Thank you so much, Cik Wan. We have come to an end. So there you have it. We have, I think, more than 1 hour session, 1 hour and 10 minutes session that is filled with invaluable information which will help you, the fresh graduates, the working youth out there, to prepare yourself for the right decision and to kick off your career path, I believe. We are also proud to share with you that we are also offering a reskilling program for the unemployed youth under Parentis Iskandar program, which we have 2 programs at the moment, AI and also the automotive technology. So do check out the Parentis Iskandar website at Parentis Iskandar. Or maybe you can check out.
So it's mainly an upskilling program rather than a reskilling program, because it requires a certain level of competency in a certain area. So it's not strictly reskilling, it's more upskilling.
Upskilling program, which is Parentis Iskandar. Thank you, Joanne. So for the youth out there who are interested in the Parentis Iskandar, who are interested into automotive and motoring, join the the Automotive Technologies Training Program by EduCity, which is the Pratis Iskandar, and grab this opportunity. As mentioned by Encik Wan, just grab the opportunities. Because maybe you have the possibility to be hired immediately after the 3 months of the training session. So also don't forget to participate in our Merdeka celebration contest, which is the EduCity Tell Me Challenge TikTok video, and hashtag EduCity do the contest, because you will stand a chance to win exclusive prizes and branded devices from EduCity. Again, thank you to all participants for joining us today. Thank you, Encik Wan, for being the speaker for today's series. And don't miss out our next series of JYC Talk that will be happening on the 21st of September. The register now, the registration link is in the comment. I believe so. My technical team has included the registration link in the comment section, and learn on how you can find out more on the insight and also the future of work related to the facilities management. All right. So would you please follow our social media at EduCity Official for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and turn on the notification for upcoming events and the webinars. Do also check out our YouTube channel at EduCity Official. Maybe you have to watch the TEDx session, Encik Wan TEDx session in our YouTube.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Encik Wan. Thank you again to all participants. With that,
sorry, can I just end the next talk? The next talk about facilities management may sound boring lah. Facilities management nak jaga bangunan semua kan. It is boring job. It is a boring job, but it makes a lot of money as well. And the company that you'll be listening to is a listed company.
Yes,
so GFM. GFM is listed on the stock exchange. I think only one or two of the listed companies that does facilities management. Is a huge business. And you have to be, really good to be a listed company lah. If not, you won't have that stature. So please tune in on the talk. They're a very good partner of ours, GFM. On the 21st September. Yeah.
3 p.m. inshallah. So with that, thank you again, Encik Wan. Thank you to all participants.
So me, you give a night session. For him, you give 3 p.m. Okay.
You are special, Encik Wan. You are the special appearance for JYC Talk.
They're all asleep already. Oh.
All right, guys. With that, stay safe and see you guys again. Hashtag EduCity jaga kita. Assalamualaikum. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cik Wan.
This is where it begins. A place where she can dive into her dreams and swim against the current to reach her goal.
It is a starting point of a journey to explore uncharted territories, to use new knowledge for the best of mankind.
Immersing in sustainable lifestyle, where you can feel the breeze on your skin. It's times like this that makes you feel alive. A time to create, a time to capture precious moments.
Where dreams are no longer just a dream, but the beginnings of a new reality. This is where I harness my potential.
This is where I explore possibilities.
This is where I expand my mind.
This is where her story begins. This is EduCity.